Hello, and welcome to this video where we're going to be talking about how to evaluate buyers. Evaluating buyers is equally as important as all of the economics behind your offer, because essentially the quality of the buyer behind the offer is the quality of the offer. In this video, we're going to walk through some of the key aspects of evaluating buyers prior to you going under exclusivity under an LOI. We're going to talk about the difference between evaluating a buyer and due diligence of a buyer. And then we'll talk about some key buyer evaluation criteria. We'll talk about the concept of how likely is a buyer to close. And then finally, we'll talk about some additional thoughts that you need to have regarding your assessment of a buyer. Okay. As you know, we're in the premium valuation approach model, and we're in the optimize phase right now, where we're optimizing the transaction, and we're just ending the maximize phase, where we're maximizing the best terms that we can get. In terms of evaluating a buyer, we want to understand, first of all, who are they? What motivates them, and what are they driving toward? Then we want to talk about you plus them. How can you assist them in their goals? We want to talk about how close is their previous success to what your transaction needs or desires. And then we'll talk about the critical issue of how likely are they to close. I want to separate buyer evaluation from buyer due diligence because they're both important, but they come at different parts in the process. When you're doing a buyer evaluation, you're doing it prior to signing an LOI. And it's key to evaluating which buyer is actually going to be the best fit as your transaction partner. Whereas when you're doing buyer due diligence, which will not be covered in this video, you're validating facts that the buyer has presented to you, and you're confirming that they have the capabilities that they represented to you in the evaluation, and it's generally done post LOI. The reason for this is it takes quite a bit of time to do due diligence, and you don't want to spend a lot of your time or your advisory team's time evaluate or due diligencing a buyer that you never end up working with. Okay, the first criteria is who are they? And if we break down who are they as a buyer, we can break it down into the first thing being the leadership. Who are the leaders in the organization and what are their bios? What have they achieved previously? And I always like to separate the bios of the leadership into what have they done in this space and also what have they done outside this space. Now, we want to value things that they've done in this space a little bit more, but having a well-rounded executive team that, for example, has done very well in going omni-channel, if you're an Amazon seller that wants to go omni-channel, could be very valuable to you to be aware of during a transaction. And then we want to talk about where are they going? Where are they going breaks down into where are they at in their business life cycle? Are they a newly funded entity? Are they in the scaling mode? Or do they already have a full and robust platform? And what is their exit strategy? In essence, rule number one of buying any company is never buy a company unless you know how you're going to exit it. And so while they're buying you now, you want to have an understanding of how that fits into their exit. And you want to understand how solid is that strategy, because if you don't feel confident about their exit strategy, likely there could be some potential concerns on the horizon for your acquisition. After you've analyzed who they are, you can better assess how you can assist them. And you might wonder why this is such an important question. And what we have found, and I have found personally in over 20 years of doing transactions, is the amount that you can help a buyer drive toward their goals will be the amount that you can drive either alignment toward getting a deal done, which increases closing likelihood, and also drive a premium valuation. You want to assess it on the level of strategic fit first. Do you fit with their overall strategic direction? In other words, if they're already in automotive and you are another Amazon seller in the automotive category, you fit within their thesis. And what strategically happens when you combine your business talents with theirs? So again, using that automotive example, if you are direct to a consumer and they already have Amazon, you are combining an additional ability not only to drive more revenue in your business, but also to help omni-channel their existing businesses. And how can your capabilities then drive improved performance in either their overall business or at least a segment of their business? Next is, are you in the sweet spot for their what's called the buyer acquisition appetite? And that could be based on size, product niche, and category. And here's a good example. If you are, let's say, on the large side and you're doing a $4 million worth a year of earnings and they have never bought anything more than $10 million, you don't fit in their appetite, which could be a concern that they're going to, quote unquote, over due diligence you because they're going to be nervous about the transaction. On the flip side, if you have a $500,000 worth of EBITDA and they're used to doing bigger deals, you might not be able to garner their attention unless you're really in the sweet spot of a category or niche that they're looking to expand into. And then finally, what is the accretion factor when you put you two together? And accretion, as we remember, is what is the lift for them after they pay you? And what is that after they pay off any debt to finance the transaction? And you want to have an understanding of that going into a deal so that you can determine whether or not you can assist them across the strategic framework, the appetite framework, and then essentially the financial or the accretion framework. After that, you want to start to assess, particularly if you have money in contingent payments of earnouts and rolled equity, how close are their capabilities to what your business